We lost 4 law enforcement officers in an ambush. In just the past 15 minutes, we learned the names of 2 more of those killed. Sam Peloche and Alden Elliott were both 14-year veterans with the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction. CMPD officer Joshua Iyer died late tonight. He had been with CMPD for 6 years. A 4th law enforcement officer was also killed as a U.S. Marshal task force was serving a warrant today. We do not know that officer's name yet or agency.
What we have learned as well in the past 20 minutes, investigators identifying the deceased suspect as Terry Clark Hughes, Jr. He was wanted for possession of a firearm by a felon and felony flee to elude out of Lincoln County. Tonight we have team coverage on what we know about the officers who were killed, the police investigation that is ongoing, and what it was like for neighbors as the shooting unfolded.
Channel 9's Erica Jackson begins our live team coverage tonight. Erica, in just the past 90 minutes, a very shaken Chief Johnny Jennings spoke briefly to tell us about that 4th officer who passed away tonight.
Erica, yeah, it was a brief yet heartbreaking update from Chief Johnny Jennings, sharing the tragic news that Officer Joshua Iyer died after being shot this afternoon. CMPD says he was shot in the line of duty this afternoon, assisting other officers. We learned tonight that Officer Iyer was a husband, a father to a 3-year-old son, and CMPD officer for the last 6 years. Earlier this month, Chief Jennings recognized Officer Iyer for his dedication to CMPD.
We'll always be indebted to Officer Iyer for his bravery and his sacrifice for this profession. It was just last month I was in this very room congratulating Officer Iyer for becoming Officer of the Month in April. And he certainly dedicated his life and gave his life to serve our citizens. And
we also know Officer Iyer was an Army veteran, and he leaves behind his wife Ashley and his 3-year-old son Andrew. There's already a GoFundMe to help the families of Officer Iyer and the 3 others who died today. We have information on how you can help on our free WSOC app. I'm live at CMPD headquarters in Uptown Charlotte. Erica Jackson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Erica, thank you for that. And again, as we mentioned off the top, we have learned the names of 2 of the U.S. Marshals task force members who were killed, Alden Elliott and Sam Peloche. Both had been with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections for the past 14 years. They both leave behind a wife and family members.
Channel 9's Joe Bruno spent much of the day near that neighborhood in East Charlotte where all of this unfolded. He is continuing our live team coverage now. Joe, I know you spoke with a number of people in that area. They saw this all unfold right before their eyes in their neighborhood.
It's just an unimaginable day of fear and sadness. Like, all of us, the residents of the Shannon Park neighborhood, watched and just asked themselves how and why something like this would happen. But they also told me they have resounding respect for the law enforcement officers who rushed to the scene to put their lives on the line to protect them.
What happened in the Shannon Park neighborhood Monday afternoon is unimaginable, not only for law enforcement, but for the people who live near Galway Drive where this all took place.
I heard a ton of gunshots.
Those gunshots and this massive police presence woke up Will Heckmuner, who was sleeping ahead of his night shift. When he stepped outside, he saw police officers putting their lives on the line.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. Everybody, relying. They had snipers set up, and it was quite insane to watch. But they did a great job containing everything.
That's when I was like, is something serious going on?
Franklin Flores Rivera shared this video with us. You can hear choppers overhead and sirens in the distance as officers sprinted toward the suspect. Police say he was firing at anyone who got close.
I had imagined they just going to work, protecting us, and then something like this happened, devastating.
Just sheer bravery on display. You saw it in that video, the officers running toward the scene, knowing that officers had already been shot and that the suspect was shooting at anyone who got close. Erica.
Yeah, and Joe, it was just a tragic day. We can't say that enough. And I know that you had the opportunity during that news conference earlier to ask Chief Jennings directly, and he shared more today about the work of these officers.
The one thing that stands out to me, Erica, is that the chief says that these officers knew what they were going into. They knew that there were officers who had already been shot, and they knew that there were some officers that needed to be rescued from that scene. They knew that someone was actively shooting at anyone who got close, yet they all still went and put their lives at risk.
In the face of danger, our people step up. The bravery, the heroism, everything that goes down with that defines what our profession is, our people demonstrated that today, and I couldn't be more proud of the response.
And Erica, our thoughts and prayers are with the entire department.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you. This is an incident that spans several hours throughout this afternoon, and during it all, Chopper 9 Sky Zoom was overhead.
Some video we chose not to broadcast live because we didn't want to disclose the position of all the officers on the scene. Now, though, we can't show you much of it. Channel 9's Hunter Sines continuing our live team coverage tonight to walk us through the timeline before, during, and after those shots were fired. Hunter?
Scott and Erica, you just heard it there in Joe's report. CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings admiring the bravery and the heroism of so many officers who ran into the danger, into the line of fire, knowing that even some of their colleagues had already been shot. Still, they persisted. And we saw that bravery firsthand from Chopper 9, which was overhead for hours. We watched as we saw dozens of officers and federal agents descend on this scene, knowing many of their own had been shot, some killed. CMPD tells us around 1:30 p.m., a U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force was serving a warrant at this home on Galway Drive. A felon inside was wanted for possessing a firearm. As marshals moved in, someone in the home opened fire on them. They returned fire, shooting and killing a suspect outside the home. As they moved toward that suspect, police say more gunfire erupted from inside the home. Multiple law enforcement officers were hit, including one deputy U.S. Marshal, 2 others on the task force, and 4 CMPD officers who rushed to the scene. Around 2 p.m., we saw an armored truck in the front yard. Officers on the side of the house, their priority, getting to their colleagues who'd been shot while trying to stop the threat. Medic and other officers at a safer distance, waiting for the victims to be brought to nearby ambulances. Minutes later, more SWAT officers arrive, lining up here, taking cover behind a neighboring house as they moved methodically toward the gunfire. Then, this harrowing moment, showing the rush to get an officer who'd been shot and was inside that armored vehicle safely to medics down the road. Seconds later, it speeds back to the shooting scene to get another wounded law enforcement officer. All the while, brave men and women in bulletproof vests and helmets refuse to back down, in the line of fire themselves. A look at the home and you can see the gravity of the situation. Bullet holes lining the outside. Later, an armored truck pushes in, taking the door and windows off the home. Just before 5 p.m., officers make their move, going inside the home, taking 2 people into custody as persons of interest. Moments later, SWAT officers and others seen huddled up before walking away from one of the darkest days in Charlotte. And we do not have an update just yet on those 2 persons of interest who are being questioned by CMPD. We have a team, though, working to get new information on that front. Again, 4 law enforcement officers were killed today in Charlotte. 3 of them were part of that U.S. Marshals task force. The other was CMPD officer Joshua Iyer, who died late this evening at a hospital. Live at police headquarters, Hunter Sines, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Hunter, thank you. And today's tragedy recalls memories of another deadly officer-involved shooting nearly 20 years ago. Tonight, we're going to speak with the man who tried to save police lives back then, how that experience led him to push for change.
bridging the gap, crossing dividing lines, bringing everyone together, and having unity.
Our team coverage continues in just one moment.
Want to know about what's happening in your neighborhood?
Again, a confirmed tornado on the ground in downtown Conyers. It's a very dangerous and life-threatening weather event. Get into the interior section of your house, away from windows or a basement if you have. And there's the debris right there in the Millstead area near the Rockdale Medical Center. Right. Channel 1 Atlanta.
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. Current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm. A new series, now playing only on Channel 1 Atlanta.
And now on 9, as the impact of today's ambush on law enforcement officers continues to unfold tonight, it does bring to mind another act of violence against police from nearly 2 decades ago.
In 2007, 2 CMPD officers were killed responding to a disturbance call. That scene actually not far from where today's tragedy occurred. Channel 9's Jonathan Lowe was live in Uptown tonight. Jonathan, you spoke with a man who actually tried to save the officers' lives that day.
And tonight here on the Trade Street side of CMPD headquarters, about 45 minutes ago, I saw an officer and his wife start this memorial here outside of the department, leaving, as you can see, a thin blue lined flag and 4 bouquets signifying the 4 officers who lost their lives today. It is a sign that not just CMPD, but law enforcement as a whole is in mourning tonight. For Stephen McMickens, today's tragedy is a reminder of what happened in his apartment complex 17 years ago.
It opened the same wounds.
March 31st, 2007, CMPD officers Sean Clark and Jeff Shelton were responding to a disturbance call here at the Timber Ridge Apartments, which are only a mile from the scene of today's shooting.
They are community officers. Despite being white officers in a black neighborhood risking their lives, they still tried to love on us and encourage us.
But that night, night, Clark and Shelton were fatally ambushed. McMickens was the only person to run to their side before first responders arrived.
Grabbed the two officers' hands, started praying. When I realized Clark was dead, I put his hand down, went back to Shelton, and Shelton squeezed my hand. He looked into my eyes, and I could feel him say, "Tell my wife I love her."
McMickens says he has faced ridicule and threats, not only for rushing to help the officers, but also calling for unity afterward.
I had guns pulled on me, guns cocked in my face. I mean, it got crazy, but we still tried to empower Charlotte.
All of it, doctors tell him, has taken a toll on his heart and his health.
They always have to shock my heart. Severe PTSD, the sirens get to me, seeing the badge gets to me.
But he says he won't stop what he started 17 years ago.
I just want to keep the torch carried, keep the dream alive, and I want to see my city come back together.
It starts, he says, with taking an approach that isn't always popular, pushing for tighter bonds between police and the communities they serve.
Thank you for what you're doing. You know, y'all are carrying the torch that Clark and Sheldon wanted, bridging the gap, crossing dividing lines, bringing everyone together, and having unity.
And according to the Officer Down Memorial page, CMPD has suffered 32 line-of-duty deaths dating back to the year 1892. Excluding today's incident, 21 of those officers died by gunfire. Live in Uptown, Jonathan Lowe, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Jonathan, thank you.
North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is already on the ground in the Charlotte area just hours after the shooting unfolded this afternoon. The governor was at Atrium and he was in Dilworth. They're speaking with some of the victims' families and the injured officers.
And I let them know that on behalf of the people of North Carolina that we are grateful for them and the lives of those officers who put their lives on the line and how much we appreciate it. There really aren't words that you can say, because obviously the families of these officers who've lost their lives this afternoon are in shock and despair.
Well, the White House also said that President Joe Biden has spoken with Governor Cooper today about the shooting, offering up his condolences and support for the entire Charlotte community. This tragic story, of course, will continue to develop in the overnight hours. We're going to have the latest right here on Channel 9 starting at 4:30 a.m. And Good Morning America will have a reporter here in Charlotte. That starts here on Channel 9 at 7 o'clock.
Of course, more coverage coming on our fallen heroes, but I want to get you caught up in the forecast for tomorrow. There's going to be some showers and thunderstorms. They're coming through Tennessee right now, into the mountains tomorrow morning, and they'll be in Charlotte tomorrow afternoon. So to get you out the door for your Tuesday, I want you to have that rain gear with you. Thunderstorms are going to be scattered around. Not everybody will cash in on that rain, but after lunchtime, I want you to be ready for the possibility of some of those storms. Out the door in the morning, not a problem. 60 degrees, very warm. Later on, then those storms start to get going up across the high country, and between the hours of 2 and 5, that's when we see the biggest storm threat. And there could be a couple areas where there's some very heavy rain, some lightning strikes. But as far as overall severe weather goes, kind of like what we've been noticing in Oklahoma and Missouri, that is not going to happen. Temperatures get up to 80 in Pineville, not terribly hot because of those clouds and those rain chances. Well, the rain chances drop off after tomorrow, which means for the next several days beyond that, we're talking about heat being a big deal. And by Thursday, we could see that thermometer jump up to maybe 87 degrees. Another thing I want to point out, and Keith is going to talk about this tomorrow, Saturday. We've got that huge music festival uptown. We've got Charlotte FC uptown. Friends, there's a very good shot for showers and potentially thunderstorms. A 60% chance of rain at this time on Saturday. This forecast, of course, will change. We're several days away, but be prepared. If you're going to be uptown to enjoy all that music, there will be some heavy downpours around. That's something we'll keep you posted on the next couple of days.
Our team coverage continues next of today's tragic shooting of law enforcement officers in Charlotte. We'll take you along with the U.S. Marshals Task Force as they search for wanted fugitives.
If you're taking an antidepressant, but you're still masking your depression, you could be experiencing a partial response to your antidepressant.
partial response happens when your antidepressant alone isn't enough. Let's try adding Rexulti. When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti significantly reduced depression symptoms more than an antidepressant alone, so you can build on your progress.
Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have an increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and actions and worsen depression in children and young adults. Report new or sudden changes in mood, behavior, thoughts, or feelings. Or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death. Weight gain, increased cholesterol, low white blood cells, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur. Ask your doctor about Rexulti.
Finding your healthy has never been easier with delivery at Sprouts Farmers Market. Your personal shopper will select fresh, quality groceries, even produce. With Sprouts Delivery, you can feel confident you're not sacrificing quality when making your favorite recipes like an organic banana breakfast, a refreshingly crisp salad, or a better-for-you stew. Sprouts Delivery makes you unstoppable. Save $20 now through May 8th when you spend $100 online. Visit Sprouts.com or the app and use code SPRING2024 at checkout. Ready to find your healthy? Start with Sprouts.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty. You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 888-882-2439.
Whether you're an active person that wants extra supplemental movement, maybe you want to keep your legs active while you work, or you wish to support your therapy at home, or you just want to build strength, increase your mobility, flexibility, and boost your circulation, Ellipse was made for you. Power-assisted exercise that frees your mind to enjoy your favorite seated activities. Just plug it in, place your feet, select your speed, and relax. Ellipse does all the work for you. Call now and order Ellipse.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks are a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen One, the portable oxygen concentrator you can take almost anywhere.
Just press the button here and there's my oxygen.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen One for 30 days completely risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen One system.
Call 888-484-1106.
Guess I'm shopping for insurance.
Whoa. The unexpected can happen to any of us. That's why SelectQuote makes it easy to get the life insurance coverage you need to protect your family for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found me a $500,000 policy for only $16 a month.
We could help you save more than 50% on life insurance.
Call us. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan.
We continue to follow that breaking news. 4 law enforcement officers killed and 4 others shot and wounded during a violent standoff this afternoon after a U.S. Marshals task force tried to serve a warrant in East Charlotte. Now, the fugitive task force is made up of members of the U.S. Marshals and other law enforcement agencies. Much of what they do, though, is outside the public eye.
But Channel 9 has spent extensive time with them, getting an up-close look at the very important and very dangerous work that they do.
This is the United States Marshal Service with a warrant. Come to the front door with your hands up.
This is it. Just fugitive work.
The Carolinas Regional Fugitive Task Force is a long name for a team with one mission: tracking down violent offenders. Deputy Commander Brian Alfano told us the suspects they target are wanted for murder, drug trafficking, and sex crimes.
You got arrested? These aren't just one-offs. These are people that have multiple warrants for, multiple violations or crimes of violence. On a daily basis, we're going after people wanted for murder.
For 1 week in July 2022, Channel 9 chronicled the task force at work as they tracked down suspects in Gaston and York counties. They arrested 91 people. Alfano says the team confronts danger and dangerous people and never lets up.
We'll find them, and it doesn't matter if it takes an hour, a day, or a month or a year. We're not going to stop until we do.
It has been more than 2 years since a U.S. Marshal was killed. It was out in Nevada in 2022, and the last time that a Marshal in North Carolina was killed was back in 1939. Stay with us for continuing coverage as we learn more about those officers ambushed today. And on our website at WSOCTV.com, you can hear more of this story, more of the breaking developments from our Charlotte area leaders. Also, we have more details on Officer Joshua Iyer and his life.
College campuses around the country still grappling with protests over the Israel-Hamas war. The student demonstrators are demanding universities divest from Israel as they say they stand in solidarity for the people of Gaza. From New York City to Austin, Texas, police are continuing to make arrests and there has been violence.
Some new video now that you will see only here on Channel 9. It shows
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. Current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm. A new series, now playing only on Channel 1 Atlanta.
2007, as it builds upon and refines the original Fujita scale that was introduced back in 1971. Directly measuring wind speeds inside tornadoes is notoriously challenging. Instruments are often lost in the storm, so the National Weather Service meteorologists rely on a catalog of damage indicators and varying degrees of destruction to estimate a tornado's strength. So let's highlight kind of what the EF scale is and what EF 0 to 5 means. EF 0, shingles blown off, branches broken. EF 1, we start to elevate that threat. Roofs, windows, doors, and mobile homes damaged. EF 2's roofs torn off. Once you get into EF 3 or greater, these are the violent tornadoes here. EF 3, multi-level destruction, which was a lot of the tornadoes that we've seen come out of the weekend. EF 4, sturdy homes are leveled and brick walls collapse. And EF 5, very rare to see, total devastation with towns completely unrecognizable. All of the damage indicators also will highlight kind of what wind speeds they are expecting to see. EF 5 is 200 miles per hour or greater. Damage there, incredible. EF 3 is where the majority of the tornadoes out of the weekend occurred, as I mentioned, 136 to 165 miles per hour with severe damage. The Elkhorn tornado rated at an EF 3, but maxed out that wind scale at 165. Now, given the background of an EF scale, what is the enhanced Fujita scale? Let's talk about what the Elba, Nebraska tornado damage was. It'll show you the imagery, and then what the National Weather Service thought about that imagery in terms of the rating. EF 3 damage is shown with metal frames of a building twisted and collapsed. More EF 3 damage with the roof of a home removed and partial collapse of walls. And then more EF 3 damage, only concrete slabs remain after a shed was washed away. We'll continue to bring you the latest updates as we have more of these ratings coming in. And the damage in Iowa has been devastating. Thankfully, volunteers have come from all over the state to help those in need. Chief Todd Schrammender with the Omaha Police Department joined Fox Weather to share how the recovery efforts have gone thus far.
Omaha metropolitan area is over 1 million population. So we, like you said, we had 42 tornado warnings in one day. We had one touchdown that was pretty devastating property-wise. It probably took out 200 houses, but very happy to say only had 2 minor injuries and no deaths. That's astonishing. That tells me that our warning systems have worked, our meteorologists were on par. And so now we have transitioned into the cleanup phase. And when I was out at ground zero, 10 minutes after it happened, it was just an amazing sight. So I went there the other day. The cleanup is already almost completed done. We can go through the streets. There's no down power lines anymore. Now it's turned to just residential houses, and how will they get back to where they're supposed to be?
And I think that that's a really important point because, as you mentioned, over 200 homes were destroyed. What are those residents in need of right now?
Right now, you know, their main concern was, where do we get some housing? A lot of them were families. Where do you stay? We've transitioned into that role. At this point, it's becomes part of how much can the builders get back in there and build this up. And then, of course, for the police department ourselves, we participated in search and rescue all night long. With these houses destroyed, we were concerned that people were trapped in there. Happy to find that nobody was trapped. The basements held up. Whatever structural advantages that we have here in Nebraska with our basements really provided a great barrier of coverage for our citizens here. Otherwise, we would have had a lot of people die and a lot worse of a tragedy.
Absolutely. Your team of meteorologists at the National Weather Service office and the local meteorologists did a fantastic job warning the public. Todd, I want to make sure that we mention this too. We looked at and just saw a video of Eppley Airfield and the destruction that occurred there. What do you know right now about what's going on at Eppley? Are they back open and back operational?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we know that Friday, the tornado touched down at our Eppley Airfield, and it really took out a lot of auxiliary buildings and some private aircraft. At this point in time, our airport here in Omaha, which is Eppley Airfield, is fully operational for private and commercial flights. So if you're coming to Omaha, we encourage you to come. We know we have the large Berkshire Hathaway, the Warren Buffett annual event coming up this weekend. A lot of people coming in from out of town. Our hotels are available, our airports are all open, and Omaha will be welcome.
Absolutely. That's good to hear. I've been to Omaha several times, and I absolutely love Eppley. Let me ask you, Tuesday evening, as you know, tomorrow, and then into the wee early morning hours of Wednesday, there is another significant threat for Omaha. We could be talking about hail, damaging winds, large hail, once again, if not a few tornadoes. How are you guys preparing on the heels of what you just went through?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we just got the best test run you ever could have. And so now we will try to replicate our procedures again, shore up a few things that we think we could have done a little bit better from Friday night. I know from a police department standpoint, we'll have some extra officers on standby because, you know, that continuity of operations for us is very important. As officers get drawn away, we still have to be available for other 911 calls. And I know our fire department, our weather service, and all our warning systems, we have checked, double checked. There's a few that didn't go off in the city, didn't cause any problems, but we make sure we shore all that up for Tuesday, because the last thing we want is any loss of life or any significant injury. And if we can prevent that again, then we're doing really good here in Omaha.
Absolutely, and you guys did an absolutely wonderful job, top to bottom, from the first responders to the meteorologists at the local National Weather Service, your local meteorologists on air as well, doing a wonderful job protecting the public. We wish you the very best in the day to come, knowing that Tuesday evening into Wednesday is going to be rough. Todd Schmatter, thank you so much for your time with the Omaha Police Department. We appreciate your time.
And a couple in Elkhorn, Nebraska is shaken up after having a first-hand encounter with a tornado. Steve Bender and I talked to the couple as they recounted the shocking events that unfolded as an EF3 tornado completely destroyed their home.
It was pretty crazy. The experience is just like everyone describes it. It sounds like a train's driving through your house above you. Just walking outside it's just unreal, the amount of destruction that these storms can cause. Like it's one thing to just see it like on the news or in movies or wherever, but like just being there, seeing it in person is like completely different experience.
And, you know, Brianna, how did you feel? Let's kind of switch the conversation to you. When you were able to finally get in touch with Bryce and learn what had happened to your home, my family was in Bennington, and so I was calling them throughout the day, making sure that they were okay. What was your experience like?
It was terrifying. I mean, I was sitting at work, and my coworkers were around me, just listening to me have a conversation on the phone with him, just saying, hey, make sure you get to the basement. And next thing I know, it just sounds like a freight train rolling over, and I can't communicate with him. He's not there. He's not responding. And just the fear for a few seconds of like, is my husband okay? And then when he said, yep, I'm here. I'm okay. I'm okay. And then just the realization of him coming up the stairs and saying, hey, the house is gone. And just thinking to yourself, is this a joke? Like, are you joking with me? And him just fully serious, like, no, this is real. And this is how it is.
That vulnerability and fear in that moment, right? When you get cut off in communication, there's nothing you can do at that point. Afterwards, you can quickly respond. And Bryce, that's what you did, right? You got out and you checked in on your neighbors. Can you describe what you saw throughout your neighborhood?
Well, the second the storm calmed down, for the most part, like everyone that was there and was able to get out of their house they were all running around to everyone else's houses, immediately seeing if everyone's okay, if anyone needed help, if we could pull anyone out of the rubble. Even before the police and fire arrived, we were all just running around trying to do what we can to make sure as many people as possible survived.
And Brianna and Bryce, is kind of a question for both of you guys. Nebraska was a state that had no fatalities from this, which is just incredible when you see the damage that came out of it. What do you think was the driving factor behind Nebraskans being safe? Was it the lead time that they knew? Was it because you could see this giant funnel? What, in your perspective, allowed this miracle to take place?
I definitely think that the systems out here did a great job of plenty forewarning. The sirens went off multiple times before tornadoes touched ground out here. Our news station did a great job of covering where the weather was, where things were going. Our phone system, alert systems were all going off. I think another major saving grace was it hit around about 3:45 in the afternoon, a time where people would normally be coming home from work. Children would normally be coming home from school, and the schools were in lockdown. They did not let students leave the building. A lot of workplaces were in lockdown. They didn't let employees leave. My work itself, we were in, shelter in place. Basically, we were not allowed to leave campus. We had to stay in our office. And I think that definitely, if this would have happened overnight or later in the evening, it would have been a much different story, honestly. I think it would have been way worse.
That response and reaction saved lives right there. And we're so happy for you that you are okay through this event, but we know there's a long road of recovery. It's very difficult right now, but we'll be there with you. We'd love to hear from you, in the future, talking about that rebuilding effort in Elkhorn, Nebraska. Brianna and Bryce Nealon, thank you for being with us here on Fox Weather.
It's been a heavy last weekend, full of severe weather. Video from Corey Gherkin of a violent tornado moving through Lincoln, Nebraska. This was a tornado that then moved through West Omaha. We're also bringing you a tornado from Dwight, Nebraska, just a little over an hour to the west of Omaha. We'll hear from storm chasers who were the first on the scene. But first, a look at your regional forecast.
In Oklahoma, I believe we have some of the best nonprofits and faith-based communities in the country. That's where the real work starts, from water resources to providing meals to weeks, if not months, of cleanup. You showed the shot of downtown Sulphur. That's one of the most historic downtowns that we have in the state of Oklahoma. It was really gut-wrenching to see those videos. I've spent a lot of time down that main street, right in the heart of Chickasaw country, which is one of our federally recognized sovereign nations, tribal nations that we have in Oklahoma. So thankfully, we have our tribes in Oklahoma that are going to be able to be helpful with the cleanup process as well. Hopefully that will make the process quicker, but it will be weeks, if not months, certainly months of cleanup in a number of those communities, Sulphur and Holdenville in particular.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's going to take a long time, long after the cameras, all the media kind of departs these towns in southern Oklahoma as well. And you mentioned that as well, but talk about the communities, talk about some of those communities that are impacted by this and how close-knit they are, how they come together in some of these hardest moments.
Yeah, you know, Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Standard was dubbed from outsiders. This was during the Oklahoma City bombing in April of 1995. You know, outsiders that came into Oklahoma that saw that there's just something different in our DNA here in Oklahoma. We help our neighbors, doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, we help each other out here in Oklahoma. There were chainsaws out the next morning. Making sure that neighbors were helping neighbors, food and water was being distributed. Again, we know a little something about storms and we know a little something about setbacks. We will rebuild, we'll rebuild very quickly. And it's great to see that Oklahoma Standard already being demonstrated in these communities. And it is a responsibility that we have at a statewide level to come alongside and help those local communities build back as quickly as possible.
You usually see what the communities are really made of in some of these very difficult times, the resilience there in Oklahoma. And I do have to ask you, because we heard from the governor yesterday say he received a phone call from President Biden. You also mentioned the Register of National Historic Places as well. How much federal funds can they help? And maybe have you heard from President Biden yourself?
Yeah, they certainly will be helpful. That's kind of the number one reason that, again, a governor will declare those state of emergencies, which really triggers some of the federal resources that we can access. Our Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management is handling that situation, so they're really on top of that. I haven't personally heard from the president, but I know, again, our governor and the governor's office is in communication with, again, federal resources and those federal agencies. So we certainly appreciate that help, again, but at the end of the day, it'll be these local communities along with the state of Oklahoma that's going to have to step up and make sure that the long-term rebuilding process is done. And I assure you, from my Lieutenant Governor's office and Governor Stitt's office, we're not going anywhere, and we will help Oklahoma rebuild.
Yeah, taking time, but those funds are definitely helpful as well. You also mentioned that people in Oklahoma, they are familiar with tornadoes and different sirens and different warnings as well. In terms of that, maybe how did the warnings, how did the fact that people are so aware of some of these severe storms potentially prevent even further loss of life during this time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it shows how far along our Weather Research Center has come in Oklahoma and across the country. We had 4 deaths. Currently, we're standing at 4 deaths. Certainly every life absolutely precious. We hate that there were 4 deaths, but to have multiple F3 plus tornadoes rolling through a state and to only have limited deaths shows you how far along our Weather Research Center has come. You know, we're the National Weather Research Center here in Oklahoma at the University of Oklahoma. We're very proud of that fact, but we know that we have to be ready. And we have to give adequate notice to all of these communities across the state, many of them very rural communities. That is something Oklahoma has come a long way on over in recent years, and that research now is being exported to other states. And certainly we hope that every state has the early response and the early notifications that we get here in Oklahoma. It saves thousands of lives. I have no doubt that it saved a lot of lives the last couple of days, having as good of a warning system that we do have here in Oklahoma.
That is very true. And of course, I put up that social media post. I'm going to do it again from the National Weather Service there in Norman, Oklahoma, saying they saw at least 22 tornadoes there touching down, which quaint, just a wild number to think about. My last question before I let you go, Lieutenant Governor, is about just tornado season as we kind of get ramping up with that. What's the message to people there about these tornadoes, about listening to some of the guidance from the weather experts as you want to make sure everyone's safe? What's the message moving forward if we see other potential severe weather moving through?
Yeah, it's preparation. It's making sure that you have apps downloaded on your phone. You know, all of our major news stations now in Oklahoma have apps that you can download, certainly radio, television, but have a preparation plan. Know where you're going to go inside your home. Know what preparation you need to take. If you're caught in your car, you're at a grocery store, all of this information is on our Oklahoma Department of Insurance website, our Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management systems as well. Make sure you're having conversation with your kids. I'm raising 4 kids in Oklahoma, and they certainly know where to go when they see a tornado. Every Oklahoman has to have a plan in place. And again, I'm very proud of Oklahoma, how we step up and help everybody, but I'm also very proud of Oklahomans that have a preparation plan as well. It limits certainly the deaths and the injuries that we have seen recently in Oklahoma.
Yeah, if you prepare, you don't necessarily have to scramble once you hear some of those tornado watches and warnings if you have that plan in place. All right, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, thank you again for joining us here on Live Now, Fox. We appreciate your time. We're continuing to think of those impacted by all of those tornadoes in Oklahoma.
Stay tuned to your warnings, stay safe, and that's what's important.
It never happens to you until...
All right, thank you to my colleague there, Andy Mack, as well, getting the summary, the lowdown about how Oklahomans are recovering from this. I want to put this back up here from Governor Kevin Stitt there in the state. He said, "We'll build back stronger than ever before. That's my promise to Sulphur, Holdenville, and every Oklahoma community facing loss today. The Oklahoma Standard is alive and well." All right, in the meantime here, let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks so much for being with us here. When we come back, we have some major updates to some of these criminal stories, legal headlines that we are following. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Thank you for having me. So right now, our biggest priority is getting things cleaned up.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to save you some money on groceries. Use the self-checkout rather than the cashier. A study by IHL Consulting found it reduces impulse buys 32% among women and 17% among men. There's less merchandise at the register, and you pay more attention to that total.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase, heads up. According to FakeSpot, the following categories are the most likely to have bogus or biased feedback: watches, Christmas decor, watch bands, sweaters, and pullovers. But the top spot for fake reviews, slippers. FakeSpot says 71% on,
as well as just neighbors in general. But those are the biggest priorities that we have right now.
Yeah, the tornado itself.
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. Current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm. A new series, now playing only on Channel 1 Atlanta.
That we had damage. They all have or any of our large populated areas. And we did not have any fatalities or injuries associated with this event. And our biggest area of concern was all in the rural areas, and everywhere that we have that we had damage, they all have stable housing now, and we don't have any shelters open. So everybody is accounted for and is able and has shelter, at least for the time being, whether that's short term or long term. So we're fortunate in that sense.
Yeah, that is as good a news as you're going to get in a situation as devastating as this, that no lives were lost, and now these folks have a safe place to be as more active weather moves in. That was the last thing I wanted to know. What's the sentiment there in the community? Because it hadn't been an especially active severe weather season up into this, and now all of a sudden we saw some top-end intensity, some of the worst of what severe weather sometimes includes move through. Are the residents there overall holding up okay?
Yeah, everybody's holding up very well. We have a very resilient population here. We're very rural. It's a strong farming community, and everybody always lends a hand to their neighbors. I can speak from experience that after the storm passed through, we were taking reports that the houses were damaged, but there were 20 to 30 cars outside from people just starting to help pick up literally minutes after the tornado passed. So it doesn't slow people down here as far as helping. And again, I think within a couple minutes of all of this unfolding, we had a volunteer sign-up sheet on our local emergency management Facebook page as well as our website. And within a day, we had over 250 people registered. And we've had people from outside and surrounding counties as well as from around the state just show up and start helping with the cleanup process or bringing food to neighbors or whatever they can do to help. And the spirits are high, which is
good.
Always a big part of it.
Well, it has been just a very busy week in the world of weather. You're seeing another vantage point here of a tornado in Iowa just carrying something. I mean, it almost looks like smoke coming that's just being blown away. There's a lot to unpack here, but unfortunately, we've got a lot more weather to cover. I do want to start off in the Northeast, though, where we are going to be seeing some rain come in over the course of Tuesday afternoon and in towards the evening. Boston in the afternoon, you'll get a heavy batch of thunderstorms, and that will take you into Tuesday evening, 10 p.m. into the overnight hours for the I-95. This will be maybe the first sparks of lightning and thunder some of these areas have seen. Typically, the Northeast waits a little bit longer for those lightning shows, but some of these storms could pack just enough instability to see that. The rain over the course of the next few days, right around half an inch as we head into upstate New York and northeastern PA. That's where we can maybe see a swath of 1 to 2 inches of rain. This will lead to a low-end threat for flash flooding. This would be that urban flooding. Locations in your neighborhood that have some issues with drainage, that's what we're looking at here. No widespread massive flooding impacts. The area that we do want to focus on closer, though, is the same area that got hit over the weekend. We're talking another threat for severe weather into Tuesday afternoon and evening. This is for eastern Nebraska, western Iowa, so Omaha as well as Minden, Iowa. They could see that chance for, yes, even a brief tornado is possible. However, for Tuesday, we're primarily going to be looking at damaging wind and hail, but any kind of adverse weather conditions for an area that has already been hit so hard is going to just be an issue and curtail some of the cleanup efforts as well. By Tuesday night, that rain will continue to linger for the Corn Belt, will help the drought conditions for portions of Iowa, but certainly we don't need any more rain on top of these communities that are just trying to come back from what occurred. On Wednesday, that severe weather threat shifts a little farther down towards the south, but then we talk areas in Oklahoma, portions of Kansas. Primarily, these storms will be discrete, firing up along that dry line, but tornado threat a little more robust going into Wednesday, with potentially a few long-track supercells capable of producing a stronger tornado possible. And another look at the Shelby, Iowa tornado. We'll continue to recap the biggest tornado outbreak of the year so far, as well as take a look at the next storm system that's coming on the way. You're watching Fox Weather at Night. We'll be right back.
Again, a confirmed tornado on the ground in downtown Conyers. This is a very dangerous and life-threatening weather event. Get into the interior section of your house, away from windows or a basement if you have. And there's the debris right there in the Millstead area near the Rockdale Medical Center. Right. Channel 1 Atlanta.
There is a storm coming, an event like the world has never seen before. The emerging event will have little to do with weather, but more about developing situations that were foreseen many years ago. We have always warned you during severe weather and news events that affected many. Now, Channel 1 Atlanta begins a new series to warn you about what's coming soon and make sure you are prepared. Join us on a new journey, as according to a recent survey, a lot of people believe we are living in the last days. Current news events show us now more than ever. In history, time is setting the stage for the coming storm, a new series, now playing only on Channel 1 Atlanta.
Tornado take place. 137 tornado reports. We've now had over 100 confirmed tornadoes, wind 172 reports, hail 208. But the warnings kept the National Weather Service quite busy. 618 severe thunderstorm warnings, 286 tornado warnings with 2 tornado emergencies. And that verbiage, tornado emergency, is saved for only the rarest, most dangerous situations that can come with an active tornado on the ground, both of which were seen in Omaha and near Iowa as well. 85 confirmed tornado warnings came out of the event as well, primarily aided in the fact that a lot of these were daytime tornadoes. And also over the course of the plains, you have open fields, not a lot of interference with tall buildings or mountains. So the storm chasers were able to then see these tornadoes and then confirm them to the National Weather Service. But it did mark the busiest day for 2 offices. National Weather Service Omaha broke a record at 42 tornado warnings issued. National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma also broke a record at 59 issued on Saturday. And volunteers are pouring in to help the people of Elkhorn, Nebraska after the community was ripped apart by an EF3 tornado. Fox Weather correspondent Nicole Valdez is in Elkhorn with the latest update on the damage.
The true horror here in Elkhorn, Nebraska isn't just focused on the damage you see behind me, on the images of that massive tornado that moved through here on Friday. It really lies within the stories of survival, of the people who ducked for their lives as that twister ripped their home to shreds. What you see behind me is what's left of some. Volunteers have been out here for days, not only cleaning up debris, helping those survivors pick up the pieces, but now helping finish what that tornado started, taking down these homes that are no longer recognizable or livable so that the families who once called this area home can start fresh once again. Marcia Nelson is one of those people. She heard the warnings. She knew that tornado was coming. She went down into her basement for her life. She said beams, hot water heaters started to fall around her, the foundation of her own home shifting, but she came out unscathed, trapped underneath the rubble, firefighters having to rescue her just moments later. She told us just how terrifying that night was for her.
It was like the wind just forced me back to the dryer, and I held on to the dryer for dear life, and there's not much to hold on to in a dryer. The hot water heater fell down right by me. The main beam from the house fell down, the steel beam, and none of those hit me. I can't believe it. Everybody goes, "How did you get out of there?" I'm like, "Well, the firefighters got me out."
And the dryer you're looking at here, this is what Marcia held on to as that tornado ripped her home apart. Thankfully, she's okay. She's alive. So are all of her neighbors. Nobody killed here, shockingly. As you take a look at the damage that was left behind here, a miracle amongst the horror. Thankfully, not only are resources coming in the form of an army of volunteers with Omaha Rapid Response, with local churches, but state resources now in effect after a state of emergency declared over the weekend will now trigger additional things for these homeowners like Marcia to help them move forward as they try to figure out where they go from here. In Elkhorn, Nebraska, I'm Nicole Valdez, Fox Weather.
And Nebraskans continue to pick up the pieces. Fox Weather's Robert Ray, a University of Nebraska alum, so familiar with the Cornhusker State and the Cornhusker spirit, is also in Elkhorn, and he gave us another update on the scene.
But I just want to walk you through live on Fox Weather the damage here in Elkhorn. Not a scene that most people ever really get to experience or want to experience. So I'm going to maneuver you all through this as I make my way through this neighborhood built in the 1970s, Elkhorn, Nebraska, about 18 miles to the northwest of downtown Omaha, a city in a metro area of about 1 million people in total. Elkhorn is a place that many families live, that has grown and boomed over the past 15-20 years, and now you see this one neighborhood in total ruin. National Weather Service has been out assessing for the past 72 hours with specialized teams, as they have noted today, and they should have an outcome as far as the degree and the severity of this tornado, whether it be an EF3 still holds or they upgrade it to a potential EF4. As I maneuver here through here very carefully, carefully. There is a lot of nails. They have removed a lot of this debris already. I'm walking on a slate right now of someone's home. The side of someone's home ripped up by the winds. Incredible, well over 100 miles per hour. State Farm Insurance has also put out information that hundreds of claims on homes and vehicles have been filed. And you can see why. And you can see the difficulty of the National Weather Service and their potential upgrading of this as you look at this, all of this mangled mess. 4 tornadoes came across the state of Nebraska on Friday, and we are awaiting another round of severe weather tomorrow, late afternoon. Large hail potential for tornadoes, severe weather. As you see, the sides of this home knocked down. You know, I've been talking to people for the past few hours since I've landed here from Atlanta and late morning. I talked to one woman about her experience and the fact that she is a survivor. Let's take a listen.
I'm just amazed and thankful that nobody was killed. This was just a terrible devastation to the whole area. And we have a lot of attachments to this home. It's been in the family for years. And it's just really sad when you look around. But it's amazing when you see all the volunteers out here helping and pulling together to help us all get through this.
And we look at the inside of someone's kitchen. Can you imagine all the conversations that happened in this kitchen over the years? And then you look up and there's the blue sky. And you can imagine what was happening on Friday as the violence of the twister came down and ripped this home to shreds. And look at that, just phenomenal. And you take a look down, it looks like a basement, perhaps a TV room in that area. And the other houses in this neighborhood destroyed on top of each other. And I will say, Ian, I've said this several times today, and I mean it, and it's not because I have ties to this great state of Nebraska, but I have never in all of my years, and that's a lot of them covering the tornadoes and aftermaths, well over 100, have I seen such an amount of volunteers hitting the roads and helping the community and trying to get things back in order quickly so people's lives can get figured out. As you see the heavy equipment moving up and down this street right now, and the street is clear mostly. All this debris moved to the side. Ian, we're awaiting National Weather Service and their new report coming out as the assessment of how strong this tornado was. Back to you.
Robert, we knew it was especially intense, but I love those stories of resilience. You said how close this place is to your heart, how many of your best friends live right there. Have you talked to them about what they attribute? I mean, outside of a miracle, which it feels like this was, to see what you've shown us and then consider that there was no loss of life when some of these homes have been completely destroyed. Were they especially well aware that this threat was coming?
Ian, I think there's no doubt that the forecasting by Fox Weather and the locals did an incredible job. National Weather Service, they had over 30 minutes to figure out what they were going to do as the system was coming in. I mean, no one expected it to be as violent as it was. But the deal is the forecasting was the magic charm this time around. And on top of that, people have basements here and the time of day that it occurred. A lot of people were out at work, at jobs. They were not home in their neighborhoods. The kids, most of them were not home from school yet. All of that, the culmination helped as far as saving lives and creating minimal injuries. But yes, you have to think that there was some other power watching over this area. I mean, to look at all of this and to think no one seriously injured and no one dead, it's a head scratcher, Ian.
It's just been a heartbreaking last few days here. And some of the same areas that were hit hard this past weekend are going to have to pay very close attention to the next storm system for the Corn Belt on Tuesday, farther down towards the southern plains into Wednesday. We're going to break it all down coming up next, so be sure to keep with us here. You're watching Fox Weather at Noon.
Make your first move with battery power made by Steel. Right now, save $50 on select AK System battery tool sets. Real Steel. Find yours.
My name is Douglas. I'm a writer, director, and I'm still working. In the kind of work that I do, you are surrounded by people who are all younger than you. I had to get help somewhere along the line to stay competitive. I discovered Prevagen. I started taking it, and after a period of time, my memory.
Again, a confirmed tornado on the ground in downtown Conyers. It's a very dangerous and life-threatening weather event. Get into the interior section of your house, away from windows or a basement if you have. And there's the debris right there in the Millstead area near the Rockdale Medical Center. Right. Channel 1 Atlanta.
Average for Tuesday looks to be the scene, maybe 2 to 5 degrees for the region. You can see, so a little bit of a chilly start, but storms on the horizon as well late tonight, scattered throughout, not really expecting anything severe, but some of them as we get into Tuesday afternoon could pack a little bit of a punch for the area, scattered throughout. They do look to weaken upon approach, but then regenerate a little bit again over the area for Tuesday afternoon, evening. So some of those could be a little bit robust the next couple of days. Rainfall-wise, we are looking for a quarter to a half inch or so of rain through Wednesday with these storms. And as we get into the temperature scene, we're looking at starting off in the low 60s for Tuesday morning throughout, upper 50s to the north. In the afternoon, we're looking at pretty much mid to upper 70s for your Tuesday with storms. And then we do warm to the mid to upper 80s by Thursday. Slight decline on Friday with storms, and then upper 70s on Saturday. And back to the low 80s Sunday and Monday, but numerous storm chances throughout the weekend.
Get more news in less time. Haystack Premium gives you the custom.
News from Charlotte, North Carolina. At least 8 officers shot. 3 members of a U.S. Marshals task force have been killed, all while serving a warrant in a suburban neighborhood. The officers coming under fire from inside the home. A suspect barricading himself inside. A massive law enforcement response you see right there, including a SWAT team and armored vehicles. A tense standoff lasting nearly 4 hours. Police telling neighbors to shelter in place. Schools on lockdown. A police sniper in a bedroom of a neighboring home. Roads from the scene to the hospital were actually shut down so that the ambulances could get through with the officers. ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas leading us off with late reporting tonight.
This
the whole force coming.
Tonight, multiple officers shot and killed near Charlotte, North Carolina, after a gunman they were trying to arrest opens fire.
He just said 4 cops got shot. Yeah, they did. Oh my God.
Shots fired at officer, possibly 1 down. Correction, 2 down. Subjects barricaded himself.
Helicopters surveilling. Schools put on lockdown.
We were at the track and we could hear a lot of gunshots.
SWAT teams storming the area. Armed police, guns drawn, descending on the scene. Neighbors describing the mayhem as police took over their house.
They used one of our bedrooms to set up a U.S. Marshal sniper in just to get a point.
The violent exchange shocking the community, forcing local stations to break into normally scheduled programming.
All hands on deck on this incredibly sad day.
The attack was unusually violent. 8 officers shot, 3 of them killed. Among them, a deputy U.S. Marshal. ABC News has learned the man they were attempting to arrest was allegedly wanted on multiple charges.
3 people lost their lives today. Keep your prayers, keep your faith. Make sure that these officers who have families have people to reach out and hold them up.
David, tonight the U.S. Marshals are in mourning over those wounded and killed. One official telling me, quote, "It's devastating, a terrible day." David?
Horrific scene. Pierre Thomas leading us off. Pierre, thank you. The growing campus protests over the war in Gaza. Tonight at Columbia University here in New York, where the movement began, university officials ordering students to leave their encampment by 2 p.m. or face immediate suspension. They did not leave. So what happens next year and the arrests on campuses now across this nation? ABC's Stephanie Ramos at Columbia again tonight.
Tonight, defiance at Columbia University. Pro-Palestinian protesters refusing to dismantle their tents despite a warning to leave this campus lawn or face suspension.
We will not be moved by these intimidation tactics. We will not be moved unless by force. Free, free Palestine! Free, free the hostages!
Outside Columbia's gate, NYPD officers taking this woman into police custody. But after more than 100 arrests here 10 days ago, the school says calling the NYPD back inside campus would only inflame the situation. Columbia's president pleading with protesters to clear the way for graduation, pointing out many seniors missed out on high school celebrations due to the pandemic. But organizers insist this is a bigger issue.
There's no universities in Gaza. There are thousands of students who have been killed, who they don't have the luxury to have commencement.
Columbia says it will not divest from Israel, as protesters have demanded here and at more than 60 other colleges across the country with protests against the war in Gaza.
It's important for us as U.S. citizens to stand up and let our voices be heard about it, because it's our tax dollars that are going to funding this thing.
For the second time in a week, arrests at the University of Texas in Austin.
Let them go! Let them go!
State police moving in as protesters refuse to disperse.
There's no riot here! Why are you in riot gear?
Several arrested at the University of Georgia, too. Officers taking some of the encampment down. Back here at Columbia University, David, you can hear and see some of those demonstrators still out here outside the Columbia gates. University officials already suspending student protesters who refuse to leave. And as of right now, those talks, David, are at a standstill.
Stephanie, thank you for that. And
now to a Channel 2 Action News investigation we've been waiting to bring you. Not a scam, not a trick. Billions of dollars of Georgians' lost money just waiting for you to claim it.
Something for you to smile about. But Channel 2 consumer investigator Justin Gray and our investigative team noticed that likely tens of millions of dollars worth of that money was essentially hidden.
Yeah, Karen, Georgia's searchable website for unclaimed property was only showing claims more than $50. That means you could have several claims for $20, $30, $40 out there, and you wouldn't know it. Now, after we started asking questions, Georgia has changed the site to make all unclaimed property easier to find.
Let's put your name in here and see.
Let's do it.
Okay.
It's a simple online search. Free money. No strings attached.
So you have some more here. Wow. Wow.
Dale Benaroff sat down with me to search again after a big change was made to the state of Georgia's unclaimed property website.
The beginning part was easy. Type your name into Georgia Unclaimed Properties and wait to see what pops up. You'd be amazed.
Benaroff certainly was. She had already discovered $23,000 in unclaimed property from her deceased parents.
It would be a godsend. It really would.
More than $2.8 billion is sitting in Georgia's treasury unclaimed. That's more than $250 for every man, woman, and child in the state. Ron Litzy is an unclaimed property watchdog.
No one should assume that they don't have unclaimed property.
We first started looking into Georgia's unclaimed property program earlier this year because we noticed a big issue. Millions of dollars of your money unsearchable. In Georgia, you could not search for claims under $50.
There's no excuse for not showing those properties. Their job is to return the money, not hide it.
It was just a matter of days after we asked the State Department of Revenue why you can't search for claims under $50 that they changed the website, now allowing you to see unclaimed money under $50 and even under $5.
Well, I thank you if you spurred us taking that step. Because it's something that I wish we'd done sooner.
Frank O'Connell is Georgia's revenue commissioner. In 2023, Georgia only returned $39 million of the $253 million in unclaimed money it received to the rightful owners.
It's our responsibility to try to unite them with their money.
We put it to the test here at Channel 2 Action News, asking our colleagues to search their names.
When I first saw it, I was like, is this a scam?
36 of the 50 Channel 2 employees who searched got cash, totaling nearly $5,500. And nearly 3/4 of those claims would have been unsearchable before under $50 claims were added. Annie Severe in our sales department found $1,100.
And you know, me being a mom, I was like, I'm gonna spend it on me. I was like, spa day.
But it's not always so simple to receive the money you find. Dale Benaroff provided death certificates for her parents and all the documents the state website says it requires. But her $23,000 in claims were rejected.
My mom would be livid, livid.
Starting July 1st, a change to Georgia law will allow third parties to reach out to Georgians about unclaimed property. The commissioner expects that to bring a flood of new claims.
We're going to double the size of our staff from about 15 to close to 30.
I have almost a dozen new ones. And
Dale Benaroff ended up finding several new under $50 claims when we searched. But it's now been since May of last year. She's been waiting on the $23,000 that she says rightfully belongs to her family.
It's stressful. It weighs on me, and it's time consuming.
And this afternoon, the Department of Revenue tells me they are working with Dale to try to resolve her claim. Georgia says they don't have specific dollar numbers on how many claims under $50 there are. I found one claim for me, $3.66. But Karen, you're in a good example here. You searched before, you found money, and then after this change of the website, you searched again.
I searched again, was able to, with Justin, who also works with you, find that I had more money, enough to take us all to lunch.
Perfect.
And I just got an email that I've been approved. I should receive my check within 30 days.
Pizza party money right there. And it was a bunch of those smaller claims that added up.
It was a couple of smaller claims. I won't say how much because I don't want anybody to come for me that is looking for money. Now, we, of course, put a link, thanks, Justin, to where you can find and search your name on the website at WSBTV.com.
More protests on campus as we're seeing students across the country speaking out on this issue.
Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Beinford joins us live from North Campus tonight. So, Chelsea, what is happening out there right now? Good group behind you.
Yeah, those protesters, they're back here this afternoon in the same place that they were this morning. The University of Georgia says they fully support free speech, but this morning they also had to consider the safety and security of the campus. It's unclear at this hour if these protesters have obtained permission or whether or not they are allowed to be here.
They should not be charged against UGA students.
Protesters gathered outside the Athens-Clarke County Jail Monday after an on-campus demonstration ended in more than 24 arrests.
We're waiting for the people to be released right now.
The pro-Palestinian group is calling for UGA to divest from companies associated with the ongoing war in Gaza. Protesters built an encampment on UGA's old campus Monday morning, which the school says is against their policies. Those who didn't leave when warned were zip-tied and put into the back of a police van.
Peaceful protesting!
In a statement, UGA said in part that while the university is firmly committed to the First Amendment and its protections, they have the right to regulate the time, place, and manner that expressive activities occur. The school says protesters did not make a required reservation to be on campus and were blocking walkways and building entrances.
It's this mentality of like it's us versus them. And it's just very scary to think about.
Jewish students like Ron Sur say news spread quickly about the protests Monday morning. While he didn't receive any direct threats, Sur says there's been growing tensions on campus since the initial Hamas attack on October 7th. Since then, Israel has responded, also killing thousands of people in the Gaza Strip. Sur says he feels that it's difficult for students to have an open dialogue about the war.
I think we've been able to kind of step in the other side's shoes and be aware that Israel has done some things that aren't, up to 100% standard like we're used to seeing from the IDF and the Israel government. But they're not willing to have that conversation or that thought process of seeing the other side, even for a second.
And a key difference that we are seeing here this afternoon is protesters, they have not built an encampment, and it does not appear they are blocking any walkways or entrances into buildings. The University of Georgia, in their statement, also said that any staff or student that was arrested this morning may face further consequences from the university. Reporting live from UGA's campus, Chelsea Bime for Atlanta News First.
Welcome back. Amazon says it's shattering delivery speed records. Fast food restaurants in California are hiking their prices, and Zoom meetings may not have replaced in-person business meetings after all. ABC business reporter Alexis Christophorous has more on that and your other business headlines. Alexis, what are you watching today?
It is a busy Monday, Diane. Let's start with Amazon, though, because the company says it's getting even more packages to customers in one day or sooner. The e-commerce giant says so far this year, nearly 60% of orders placed through Prime in the top 60 U.S. metro areas arrive the same or next day. That's up from 50% last year. Speedy delivery is, of course, a hallmark of Amazon's Prime subscription, which charges members $139 a year for benefits such as 2-day shipping and video streaming. Well, some California fast food chains are now serving up sticker shock, a higher state minimum wage of $20 an hour for fast food workers that went into effect this spring is making everything from burritos to burgers more expensive. Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, and Domino's are among the fast food chains that have raised prices in the Golden State in recent weeks. Chipotle says prices at its nearly 500 California restaurants climbed as much as 7% this month alone compared with last year. And it turns out all those Zoom calls haven't killed business travel after all. Some major airlines are reporting a big bounce back in business travel. Delta and United both reporting a 14% bump up in business travel in the first quarter from a year ago. Corporate travel is back to pre-pandemic levels at Alaska Air, led by tech companies, and Southwest says it saw a record number of people traveling for business from January to April. You can thank a resilient economy and strong employment for helping to support that business travel, Diane.
Alexis Christophorous, thank you.
Is intense new pressure tonight on Israel.